Good. Okay.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome. This is Christ Church for Our Community, empowering victims of addiction ministry, and I'm here today. And Pastor Dr. Frank M. Smith Jr. He's the pastor at Christ Church for Our Community. We have services on Sundays at 10:15 a.m. and we also have a recovery meeting empowering victims of addiction every Thursday at 12 noon here at the church, 1226 Krupp Park Drive, Louisville, Kentucky, 40213. And we just invite you to come and worship with us. We invite you, if you don't have to be a member to come to our ministries or anything that we're doing here. Just please come and get involved. But this empowering victims of addiction. I have two of our members here of our church. We have, well, we call him Chef Mo. And Chef Mo, you can say your real name.
My real name is Madoshi Kamara.
Madoshi Kamara. And then we have Charles Miller, one of our members. Brother Charles, both members here, and they both at times facilitate our recovery groups here at the church. Now, wow, this is since we started this ministry, it's been so intriguing. I've been learning a lot and things that people saying. You guys have shared a lot of information with me. Let me just start off with this question: why do people? And I'm gonna let both of you give an answer. Why do people use alcohol and or other drugs? Just what's some of the reasons? We'll start with Brother Charles.
Primarily because of our society and socially is acceptable. So, and a lot of people that grow up believing this is just it's natural to do this. From the time you ever watch the first cowboy movie, they went out, they got the cattle, they sold the cattle, and the first thing they did, they went to the saloon and they started drinking. So at a young age, we, as a culture, no matter your race, this is what we're more or less taught to do early on. And it's not the best thing for us to do, but going back as far as even when we're junior high and high school, and even in our homes, some parents, it's all we ever see. So we do this because it's acceptable, and we don't see nothing wrong with it until things all go wrong.
Right. Well, Chef Mo, what do you?
I'm gonna piggyback off of what Brother Charles said, and man, it's so entwined in our culture. When you're a young person, the whining and dining is quite, it's an acceptable behavior when you start dating and then parties. And in a lot of ways, man, it works till it doesn't work anymore. It lowers your inhibitions. It causes you to, gives you the ability to have conversations and kind of lose some of that social anxiety. So it works. And for most people, those, particularly as it relates to alcohol, most people, man, could take it and leave it. Some of us, unfortunately, cannot. But I remember, I was always a big James Bond fan. And I always like when James Bond said, "Martini, shaken, not stirred." And I just thought that was so cool. And I know myself being a socially awkward kid, man, it worked for me, when I started to drink, and then I became looser. I don't know if I was a better dancer, but I certainly didn't mind how I was dancing after that, but I was going to dance. So it worked, until it didn't work anymore. So I think it's just entwined in our culture.
I see. So you're saying, well, we're going back to Gunsmoke then, the bar saloon. We're going way back. So how can a person recognize that they're using has become a problem and it's no longer just fun and social activity? Let you go first this time.
Oh man, I remember when I first started drinking and using drugs. Um, I remember, man, I had a cousin who told me something that I never forgot. He said, "Man, do it, don't let it do you." And after a while, for me, it's very subtle. It's not like one day you drink and then your whole world falls apart. At first, it's fun. If it was never fun, we would never continue to go back.
Right.
And what happens is such a subtle fold, and you start to slowly, at least me, I started to slowly recognize certain consequences that came with my drinking. And it's, even that started out subtle. I wasn't as good at school. I wasn't keeping appointments. Um, then my value system and my values started to change, and I started to compromise some of my principles. And then one day, it was unequivocal. I knew that I had a problem. And like that cousin told me, I was no longer drinking, but the drink was sucking me up. And at that point, it was never the same again.
Got it. Brother Charles, what do you say to that one?
Well, I believe when some of us are started, we were like weekend warriors. We go to the nightclubs and we start drinking there, and but I believe if a person just would be honest with themselves, if the first thing they've got to do in the morning before they can start the day is drink, that's a problem. If a person finds himself sneaking and drinking where no one else does by themselves, then that's another indicator. And that's so subconsciously, people don't think about that. We'll go ahead and social drink, with the clubs or with the family, for dinner. But when we find ourselves, this is something we have a need to do before we can start our day, or at the end of the day, people say, I owed it to myself. That's the biggest lie. I owed it to myself. I'm working, I'm paying bills. It's a slippery slope, a real slippery slope, but be able to recognize that these are things are indicators. If I'm, doing it all alone, just me and my bottle, then I kind of got a problem. But there again, too, it's such a slippery slope we stand on, and people don't really recognize these things unless sometimes people point them out, and we become offensive to anybody's essence about that. Then that's an indicator. Okay, yeah, I have a problem, but I don't want to admit it. We have egos, pride, and we don't want to feel that something's working us. We want to think that we're working it, but it's just the opposite around. So those are little indicators.
Okay, so it's not normal. It's not normal to like just get up in the morning and just
If you got to start your day with it, then there's a problem. If you got to end your day with it, it's a problem. It's self-medicating.
okay. Um, wow. Was you? I saw you move. Was you? Did something he was saying?
No,
Were you gonna say something else?
No, I was just totally agreeing with it.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, that's
All right.
all.
So we know our society has. I know there've been times I've been in places or whatever. I'm not a drinker, but I'm at events and different things, and I see people, and uh, sometimes people will like say, "Hey, you want to drink?" And I'll say, "No." They say, "Well, don't make me drink by myself," or "Come on now, you can have at least one."
Hmm.
What what is that? What are people doing when they're feeling uncomfortable that you're not drinking?
Well, if I might say anything, overwhelmingly, for me, it's been my experience, particularly since I've been in recovery, that when I tell people, well, no, that's all right, man, I don't drink, they instantly, I don't think they're judging themselves or saying that there's a problem, but so many of us in social settings do drink, and it's actually even part of being of hospitality. You know, as a drunk, one of the things that I loved, man, was the holiday times because people that didn't even drink, you go over their house and they drink it now. They might not drink any other time during the year, but when you go over someone's house for Christmas, what's one of the first things they say? Hey, man, go in there, pour your drink. Dinner will be out on the table later. And so I think it's a subtle thing, and we're getting back to the cultural thing.
Yeah.
Hey, man, be a part of.
Yeah.
Join in on the fun. Only those of us who it's no longer fun for
Right.
are the few people that will be like, hey, man, I don't drink anymore.
Yeah. You got one response to that, brother?
Yeah, like peer pressure. Peer pressure goes back from the time we were kids. People want to be accepted, they want to be a part of, and we find ourselves doing things to fit in. I used to go to the clubs and I'd see a guy would have a drink, and listen to that same drink all night long as a crutch. The drink in the hand, he had confidence to approach women. Like I said, after a few drinks, and you're dancing a little bit better because you really don't care at that point what you look like. But it starts with that. Even when we become adults, we want to fit in. We don't want to, we don't want rejection from an individual. Therefore, we'll more readily go ahead and do it. But again, we said, when you're in recovery, you realize that's no longer an option. So way back, I just said, not today, not this time, without getting into it all, because then a lot of them wouldn't understand, and then they do want to reject it because you put yourself outside of the circle.
Yeah.
So
what can a concerned family member or friend do, or how can they approach a person that they're either in their family or friend or loved one that has this problem? How can the family member that's concerned help?
There are so many ways and approaches, and all of them seem to be intrusive. After a while, me and Charles were talking, you asked the earlier question, when does one know that he have a problem? One of my first indicators that I had a problem when those around me noticed that I had a problem with it. Some of the worst arguments that I've gotten into in my life is when people who really cared about me would confront me about my using, about my drinking. And one of the, and I'm sure that Charles would piggyback up this, and that's that one of the things that we say early in our addiction, well, I ain't hurt nobody but me. My problem is only that you keep bothering me about my drink. And if you didn't bother me about it, it wouldn't be no big deal. So I would say for family members, keep that up. One of the most dangerous things that could happen for an addict is to have somebody that is codependent and somebody that they could depend on to continue to drink or to continue to use drugs and alcohol. I have seen in my history as a drug and alcohol abuser, you can love somebody to death if there's no boundaries. For an addict, love is not unconditional. You should, after a while, my family learned, Brother Charles and Brother T, that to love me unconditionally was to help me in my addiction and to help me to slowly kill myself. So after a round, if you drunk, you can't be around. If you get too drunk, hey, you gotta leave. After a while, they wouldn't loan me any money because I never had to borrow money for anything else but to get drunk and get high. And when I look back on that, some of those things saved my life. Now, I was at my father's party, and he lives in Elizabethtown, his birthday party. And I drove all the way from Louisville to Elizabethtown. Man, I was drunk when I got there. And I wanted to drink when I continued, as I got, involved in the party, hey, man, I'm here, hey, right on there. It's all about me, of course. And my little sister confronted me, and I left. And it would be 2 years before her confronting me would plant a seed in my head that this something is really wrong. But I often thank her today because she did not say that was okay. That's my brother. I love him. He'll be all right. I just hope he'll be all right. She gave me consequences to my drinking. And that was probably one of the earliest experiences of me having a consequence from somebody outside of me, and that ended up helping me.
Wow. Wow. What do you think about that, Brother Charles? Same question.
Well, I sometimes talk on a third party with an individual about that, where if I'm gonna have a family member, I would first ask them, do you think you have a problem? I would ask them, I would ask them if they think they have a problem. That way I'm not directly attacking them, but again, I'm planting the seed in their mind to maybe they want to self-check themselves. Then I'd come back. If I got to a little white lie, I'll do it. I say, so-and-so asked me if you're an alcoholic now. And I couldn't tell them yeah or no because I see what they see, but only you can tell me. So I would approach the person in the third party, asking them, do you think you have a problem? And then come back and say, so-and-so asked me if you have a problem with this because they've seen ABC, XYZ, you're no longer, pressing your clothes. They can't on the phone, they can't understand you, you're slurring your speech. Things in their subconscious to make them think to check themselves out first. That way, no one's in the crosshairs, no one can come attack you because they can go attack this invisible person now that's bringing this to them. And you ask them, do you think you have a problem? That puts it back on them. They have to go ahead and self-evaluate. When you do that, when they go to pick up something subconsciously, who's watching me? Is there a problem? That's been very effective for a family member or a concerned person. Not accuse them, but ask them a question. Do you think you have a problem? That's going to burn to the brain. That's going to be the beginning of open the door for other things to happen.
So, you mentioned, Chef, you word, you said a codependent, and I don't know did you say enabling too?
Yes.
Those two words, could y'all speak to those key, codependent and enabling?
Okay, I'll go off with enabling first. Enabling is when you see someone enacting bad habits and you support them in those. If someone comes to you and they're drunk or high and they want money and you see they're drunk or high and they want money, then for you to give them that, you are enabling them. And the codependency for me is this, relying on somebody, be it in a negative fashion, to continue. And then, like me, in my addiction, I became codependent on my sisters to go ahead and take up my slack, put gas in my vehicle, give me a meal. They were enabling me, but then I became codependent on them to do things for me where I never was gonna, as long as I was comfortable, I'm gonna continue the bad behavior.
Mhm.
So if they had knew that they were enabling me, I couldn't become codependent on them because they would have stomped on the brakes. But there again, too, no one wants to accuse nobody or point the finger or be on somebody's bad side, even so-called maybe hurt their feelings, out of love.
Mhm.
So that's why I got it on that one.
Okay. Seth.
I agree with everything that he said. I agree
Uh-huh.
with everything that he said. And that's why we have to remember that an addict and or an alcoholic, it's a family disease. When we say we're only hurting ourselves, that addict has impacted everybody in his family, the spouse, the children, the parents. Once I became sober, started living a life in recovery, it dawned on me that I was a stealer of joy. I stole my parents' joy. And those people that love me, I stole their joy and their peace. Because even when they no longer wanted me around and I was out in the streets using, they still would think, is my son okay? If that midnight call, is that about my son? And often it was. And so that codependency and the enabling also is an effect that the family has. After a while, I'm trying to help my brother or my sister or my wife or my husband or my dad. But after a while, they get to the point where I just can't do it. I can't watch you kill yourself. And that gets back to the thing that I said. One of the first areas of denial that the drug and alcoholic has is that, man, I'm only hurting myself. But he can't see we're so self-centered and selfish. We can't see the impact that it has on others.
Wow. I got a couple of calls this week from some people that heard about our recovery program, and they asked for, hey, what's some places that my loved one can go get help? Uh, is there some places you know about here in the city?
Uh, the men's and women's healing place. They'll accept you with no insurance, no money, no anything. It won't cost you a dime. They'll go ahead, assess you, they'll put you into a bed, and then immediately they'll start a program for you. They ask only one thing is that you comply with the few rules that they have, and they have something called trudging, where they'll have you walk to different classes. They actually are hands-on, and these people are people that were alcoholics and addicts themselves, so they understand their true nature. Okay, and also Mary Elizabeth Hospital. They have a good detox program there. They take in different insurances and all this. Also, even the Peace Hospital. Those are places that you can go immediately at any time of day or night, and they're going to admit you. And they're going to take you at your word. Again, too, these are people that have gone through this program themselves. Uh, they have not sympathy, but they have empathy for the individual. They can feel the pain because they've been there themselves, and they've got a roadmap already laid out. If a person adheres to these, then you're gonna get some help. But there again, too, it goes back to the individual to have a desire, an honest desire to do this. Some people they'll go in one door and they'll go out the other. But a lot of times when a person come in the door, and that's when it's time to go ahead and just, put out that red carpet. Don't have them feel guilt. Get rid of guilt, shame, and all this, and let them know that it's by God's grace now, here you are and here we are for you. So men's and women's healing place to the top of the list. You got 7 counties, but still, those 2 places right there, no insurance, no nothing. You just got to show up.
Okay. Chef, any places you know about other than the ones he said that?
No, I would, I'm a alum of the Healing Place myself.
Okay.
But for families, I want to add this in there a little bit. Yeah. For families that are looking to help a family member that might be having drugs and alcohol problems, one of the first things that you could do is you're welcome to go to open NA and AA meetings to get some information, how you should approach it, how you should approach them. We could give you some hints, because one of the things that me and Brother Charles can tell you, no amount of love, no amount of hope, no amount of pleading, no amount of begging is going to work unless that person is ready. And that's what Charles was getting to. When you are ready for to have sincere willingness to do whatever it takes to be recovered. One of the things that I like to help families remember, the importance, particularly with the programs that we run here, is it's important for someone to reach a bottom. What is a bottom? When I am sick and tired of being sick and tired. I've had my kids plead with me, the wives plead with me, my sisters, family members, friends plead with me, but no amount of them being ready for me to make changes in my life meant anything to me until I was ready to make that change. Generally, when you're ready to make that change, that's the one ingredient that is more important than even where you go.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because if you ready. Overwhelmingly, most people who live a lifestyle of being clean and sober, it doesn't matter where they went. What happened is they were ready to do something. So it's more important for them to be ready.
Got it. So if you both could explain a 12-step program, how does it work? What's a 12-step program, and how is it effective? What can it do?
I'm going to hit on a few points, and I know Charles will probably hit on some others. First of all, let me say this. It is very hard, and I would say for me, it was impossible to live a lifestyle of recovery. And that's what recovery is, a lifestyle. Sobriety is just not drinking. Okay. A recovery is living a lifestyle that sustains abstinence from drug and alcohol. So it is almost impossible to do that without a spiritual concept. There has to be something bigger than you, because let me tell you something, the drug and alcohol has won so much that it is almost impossible to beat it without something higher than yourself. In our programs, we just call it a higher power. Okay, my higher power is God. Okay, so I know that God can do things that I couldn't do for myself. Also, that if I could try to simplify it for you, the answers to life is in the Bible, but the Bible is a cookbook. The big book, the basic text, is a recipe, all coming from the cookbook, but it's a recipe and how to overcome this. And it's got various components. Charles mentioned that you don't want to be browbeat. So when you come into the rooms of AA or NA, we don't browbeat you. We have something that we say, we learn to love you until you learn to love yourself. But there is nothing that is more powerful than an addict speaking with an addict and an alcoholic speaking with an alcoholic. Why? Because you can't fake the funk. You can't fake the funk. He know I know, and he know I know. You know what I mean? So you can have a PhD, but me and Charles have a PhD in failure. We have a PhD in resentment. We have a PhD in just years and years of being unsuccessful in life and this thing beating us. But for me, I feel most at home in a room of sick people like me because my parents love me, my wife loved me, but they don't always understand me. It's something when I could go into a room with other addicts and that's, man, I had a dream last night. Whew, man, that dream almost caused me to want to use. Other people, man, that ain't nothing but a dream. These people have had it before. And to one of the beauties, and then I'm sorry, Charles, I don't want to dominate it. One of the beauties as well is I have people further along than me in this program who can teach me. And at the same time, I'm continuing in this program. I have other people following behind me who reminds me of where I used to be and the significance, of today. That's a beautiful program. And in there, you don't even have to believe in the program. What you have to do is what we call it, trust the process, and the program begins to work for you. For me, God did for me things that I couldn't do for myself. And I just wanted to come in and get away from the pain of drinking. Man, I had no idea it'd make me a better husband, a better father, a better friend, a better human being. Yeah. It's been so long since I liked myself. It's beautiful, man, to like me. To have my own dignity back, to have my value system back. I compromise all of that, And
you preaching, man. You preaching.
It's nice to me. I'm sorry, y'all.
That's all good.
That's a good word. That's a good word.
Okay, 12-step program. I've told people this, and it's really true. We have 10 commandments. Most times, people like myself, every one of those commandments, we blew them straight out of the water. I mean, knocked each one out of the water. God in his wisdom knew the time would come in our society and then for humanity that we needed more. So we got 10 commandments, but now we got 12 steps to align us with those commandments. People say, well, how do I start? What do I do? The 12 steps from day one, from the first one, I am powerless. Every step cosigns how to go about doing something. It takes the guesswork out. It's all written down. There are things called predecessors, people that were there before we got there that are still there, passing that baton on. We have sponsors. Sponsors are very, very important. Sponsorships, that's the platform because someone's going to take time with an individual to listen to them, not buy into their BS, and call them out, in a way to where, okay, they become receptive. Not anywhere else are you going to get that. Like I said, my family member early on, they looked at me and, what's happened to Charles Edwin? Well, I'm on that, and that's all they could do. Also, I told some people, courage. Some people, preachers, ministers, and so forth. A lot of times we'll pray, God, get Sally, get Tommy off or whatever. Okay. Through our prayers, God's going to put his hedge of salvation around them, let them sustain. But we have a thing called free will. God's not going to make anybody do anything they don't want to do of their own free will. So when a person, like I said, bottoms out and they're ready, God sees the heart of an individual. And when the pupil is ready, the teacher will appear every
Come on.
time. And that you'll find them in those rooms of the 12-step programs. Again, you come in there, they're gonna hug you, love you, listen to you, and actually not try to get nothing from you, because we can only keep what we have by giving it away to somebody else. That's our mandate. See somebody needing it, give it to them, point them there. And again, I say these 12 steps are lined out for every aspect of your life, and working them in order is very important. At an individual years ago, they hit the first step, second step, third step, and then they want to jump all the way to the eighth. They want to go make amends to somebody. Well, you can't do that, because by the time you get to these steps of making amends, you yourself have changed enough. People have seen the change in you, and they're going to accept your apology. You trying to replace a TV you stole or whatever. But early on, they just want to split your head. So it puts you in a place to where we have guidance. G-O-D, good, orderly direction. 12 steps will give you that. And we learn about ourselves. We learn about, having that peace. That's why detox is vitally important. Taking those 3 to 5 days to get your system cleaned out, because when our body is messed up, the mind ain't working right. So it's all a process. And it's a simple process. By the grace of God, my first time in, there was enough. The clean date I started out with, May 13, 1988, that's the only clean date I've had, because I was ready. I did not like the person I had become, and I had no idea how to go about doing this. But in detox, they start talking about 12 steps. And they said steps, in my mind, somebody going up steps. I had no idea what 12 steps was. I physically going up steps. Lost in the sauce.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's 12-step programs. That's our gateway to living a life worth living.
So how long does it take a person to start recovering? Is that even how does?
Man, recovery is as vast as the snowflakes in a blizzard. We just see the blizzard, but that blizzard is made of multiple snowflakes. Charles has been successful, but Charles is successful his way. Chef Mo is successful, but Chef Mo is successful his way. Now, let me put a caveat in that. We work the steps, but our recovery might be different. For me, and I'm gonna hit something on them steps too that is vital. A lot of us have failed so much that we embrace the failure, and we think that, man, there's nothing that came out of my life from those years of turmoil and agony and regret. And God, in his infinite wisdom, has taken something that was a contention of misery for us and had Charles and myself and other people have a unique skill to help somebody else. That's the beauty of the AA program. Like you said, that sponsorship part, you get a sponsor. And the stronger you get, the more you know. Not only do I have to listen to my sponsor, I have to listen in such a way that I have to be able to sponsor somebody else. And could you imagine that component in your head, that I have failed so much? Man, I'm like, this failure, only thing I know is failure. Well, that's cool, because God took what your failure, to help somebody else understand you ain't got to always be where you at. And no matter how many times you fail, it's all about to getting up, because recovery like walking. Some children, you see them walking one day, man, they got it. The other ones, you got your other son, he falling over the bed every time he falls. You got to go try to grab him. It takes what it takes. Me and Charles kind of have the same thing, and this is that relapse is not in my story. We're one of very few people
Yeah.
who come into a 12-step program and don't fail. Failure is part of the program, but you can never knock a home run if you're afraid to strike out. So you got to get up to the plate. So if you're looking at this and you fail before, you only fail if you decide that that's where you want to stay, because we have no choice but to start where we at.
Yeah, so it can be a person could have one time of a setback in sobriety, or a person could have no times, or
Yeah.
it's
12,
just
12 steps. We don't excommunicate you because you failing.
Hey,
Hey, you
welcome
out
back.
of here. we always welcome you back and applaud you for coming back. See, I understand, even though failure is not in my story, man, it takes a special courage to fail and come back in a room in which you fail and get back on board.
Man, that's powerful, because some churches can take some lessons from that. Because
You know,
I know some churches, you fail in that church, they kick you out and
Yeah.
get rid of you, and don't associate with you.
Yeah.
So the
Yeah, that's the beauty
churches
of the
can
program.
take a lesson from
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
ministry here. That's all right. So we kind of touched on this. I think a little bit. I'm gonna bring it around again. So what are some do's and don'ts? Because I want to hit in on this. Do's and don'ts for family. When a person in the recovery process like reaches out, you know, they know.
Mhm.
But what's some do's and don'ts? Because family people don't know how to act with this sometimes, because it's new, with their family, being somebody in their family in addiction, and
Yeah.
sometimes they recognize it, and sometimes I don't have a problem.
Mhm.
Do's and don'ts for family members.
Well, a do for a family member is don't try to fix it yourselves.
Mm.
You got to reach out. If a person, out of their own confession, they have a drug problem, alcohol problem, then stop throwing logs on the fire. I mean, you can't keep putting gas in the vehicle. You can't enabling them.
Mhm.
First thing you do, you stop enabling and seek out some help. They have Al-Anon, Alateen. Those are for people that uh, even don't know about AA or NA. They're accessible. Should have hotlines 24 hours. Someone to go ahead and talk to you so you can learn how to start to navigate through this. So, and two, once that admission has been made, then it becomes the duty of those persons concerned to do what they do to protect themselves, but there again, too, to encourage the individual. There's no more free passes and all this. That's where the rubber's meeting the road. No, you gotta just be firm. But I said this a long time ago about keeping secrets. We're in a society where don't let the neighbors know, don't let nobody know. We want to keep secrets about what's going on with us. As long as we stay into secrets, the person's going to stay sick, and us as a family are going to stay sick with them. Like I said, one person may use, but the entire family suffers. The workplace, society. I see sometimes people out behind the wheels tore up from the floor up, and it just scares me. And then it ticks me off a little bit too, because they're going to hurt somebody else. It's like they may kill somebody and they'll be okay because, you know, that's just how it works all too often. But one do is for the family is reach out to other facilities to get help to learn how to maneuver.
If there's anything, the first thing that I would say to those that love an addict and an alcoholic, remember they have the problem. Let them take ownership of their own problem. You try to help them, but it's not your obligation to do all the work for them. It's not your obligation to go to give them rides to meetings. Not all the time. Maybe in the initial stages, till they get there. Uh, One of the things that we don't do in AA, and we encourage that of the families, uh, I'm not going to work harder at your recovery than you willing to work. Don't preach, don't beg, like you said, don't enable, you know, don't become a codependent. And what I mean by that enabling is, hey, you ain't got no job. What am I giving you money for? What am I giving you a loan for? You ain't got no job. When I leave the house, you gotta leave the house. It's not up to me to feed you every day. I mean, you don't do it out of meanness, but you do it so that God can do his work. See, sometimes we gotta let go and let God. I can't help you as a family member by giving you money every day, which I see you drinking, or I see you using drugs. Sometimes we as family members got to move out of the way and God gonna do his work. Because, Brother T and Brother Charles, y'all know most people are not gonna sit on the side of the road and go hungry. They're gonna do something. They got to. It's the way a human being was created. And sometimes we as family are in the way of God's work. I was raised in a certain way. If I don't behave in the manner in which my family behaves, you ain't got no business here. Go out and do what you want to do. I remember when I was a kid, man, I had a very short criminal career. And my mom came to the jail and said, okay, here we are. First of all, you need to retire because you already in jail. But I'm not getting ready to come down here and put wham wham and zoom money on your books. You ain't getting ready to make no $5 phone calls to me collect. I'm not getting ready to come down here every week. I'm not putting my home up for bail or none of that. And because she did that, my career as a criminal was short-lived. It was over. Why? Because she set up parameters of behavior in which she was going to continue to interact with me. She didn't say, you got to quit being a criminal. She just told me what she wasn't going to do and what she was going to do if I wanted to behave in that way. And that's something that Charles was talking about what we do in the rooms. Now, you can't come in there and tell us everything. We'll sit there and we'll look at you and then somebody be like, man, that was great. But man, that's crap. That was crap, man. We love you, but come on, man, tell the truth. If you're going to tell me something, tell me the truth. So if you want to think of a lie, I'm going to give you 30 minutes. Let me go ahead and give you something to drink. Come back, and let's see if I believe this next one. After a while, they begin to tell you the truth. Or they'll get out the rooms, which means they're not ready.
I see. So I know what I've noticed in our ministry here, empowering victims of addiction, as I sit in those meetings, and God is talked about a lot in our meetings. It's specific God. Why is God important in the recovery process?
Nothing is possible and all things are possible with God. It was God that sustained us to get up in the mornings. God protected us whole times we were out there acting complete fools. And God sees in our heart now we're ready to do something different. And he's the way maker. We sang it, we believe it. God is the foundation for all. And working through the steps, again, the programs like to use the word, higher power. I've always said God for my first year in recovery and the meetings. Who's your sponsor? Jesus. What you mean? I said, he knows everything I've done. He said, he forgive me for everything I ever did, and he sustained me right now. After my year, I got to be a sponsor, but I didn't miss a day. I wasn't court ordered for 2 years straight. 365 days of the year, I was in a meeting somewhere listening because someone said a long time ago, However long you've been getting high and acting a fool, that's how many meetings you need to balance out.
Amen.
So I was balancing out the scale for 2 years. I did not miss a day, no matter what, regardless of weather. But doing that, I was taking in things. God will see us and will open us up internally, our minds, to hear things a way we weren't willing to hear them before. Because even at the beginning of meetings, we do the serenity prayer, asking God for this, and we close it out with the Lord's prayer. So in the beginning and in the end, there is God. Throughout the whole process, there is God. Without God, there wouldn't be no program. Like say, He gave us 10 commandments. We say, okay, now what you got? He comes back and lays 12 steps on us. So we have no excuse at this point how to do it one step at a time, even to the point to where at the fourth step, we take time to write down about ourselves, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And then the fifth step, we get with another individual, and God's brought in right there in that prayer to go ahead and confess everything. And it's all gone. It is all gone. We never have to do these things again. And the steps that follow us helps build us up from within to the out. So without God, there wouldn't be no program. That's why God is important.
I'm going to definitely piggyback off that. And one of the reasons why the concept of a higher power, which again, me as well call God, is the drugs and alcohol, after a while, told me everything I was going to do. If I was going to go to work, if I was going to lie, if I was going to steal, if you could be my friend, what type of father I was going to be, what type of husband I was going to be. I got on my knees, but I got on my knees because I thought I might have dropped some crack. I got on my knees, but I got on my knees because I was so drunk that I was throwing up. So I wouldn't even bow to it, one could say. I needed something to believe in and have faith in that was larger than my addiction. It had whooped me every time. I had tried everything, man. I Dianetics, the African religions, all type of self-help books, Indian traditionalism. But the thing that I did not realize is that to know of God doesn't mean that I have a relationship with my higher power. A relationship with a higher power is essential because then one does things like obedience, continuing to do the next right thing. And God reveals his. See, I can't tell you at what point in this program that one day I woke up and I didn't want to use anymore. It wasn't 10 years. It wasn't even 10 months. That happened very quickly. But what happened, T, is that life gets in the way. We can't take a time out from life, just because I'm in recovery. So that higher power keeps me on a guided path. And after a while, T, things were so big for me that I thought that I could outthink it, I could outwork it, I could will it into existence. In other words, trying to play God. The 12 steps taught me that, man, what it asked me to do is very simple. Do the next right thing, do the best that I can. And at that point, after that, I could let God. I tried to heal, I thought, man, I'm sober for 3 months. Everybody in my family should be happy and throwing me a party and, you know what I'm saying, should forgive everything I ever did, but it doesn't work like that. But what God taught me, you keep doing what I asked you to do. And a strange thing happened on the way to an AA meeting. I no longer had to speak for myself. My recovery speak for me.
Amen.
And it heals things that I thought were irreconcilable. But AA didn't do the miracle. My sponsor didn't do the miracle. The fellowship didn't do the miracle. God did the miracle. And when you see the miracles happen, you would think that a human being at that point, from that point on, will go on and his life will never be the same. That's not how drugs and alcohol work. We say in the rooms it's cunning, baffling, and it's powerful. Because sometimes God will bless us and we'll trip over the blessing and fall back to drug and alcohol addiction.
Wow. Wow. So let's look at this one thing. There's alcohol is legal. Marijuana is becoming legal in many, many states. I think here in Kentucky, medical marijuana just got approved, and probably on our way to recreational usage. I've noticed in some of the conversations I've had with younger people, they bring that up. Well, it's legal, or it's really not a drug if they're making it legal, but alcohol is legal. So speak to alcohol, drug, legality.
And let me, Charles, I'm gonna take this because I have a,
Okay.
let's look at it statistically.
All right.
Legality and lethalness are two different things. The two drugs that will kill most people in our country are both legal. Tobacco and alcohol will kill more people in one day than will die from crack and heroin this whole year. You know what I'm saying? So and so I want to stress something too for those people out there who listening to us that think that Charles is a member of NA. I'm a member of Alcoholics Anonymous. We both believe in total abstinence from any mind-altering substance. Why? Because it is quite common for an alcoholic to quit using alcohol and chronically use crack cocaine. Why? Because we have addictive personalities and we looking for the easy way out. So let me say that right off. Ain't no fudging. You know, when Charles say how many years he has, when I say how many years I have, that means from everything. You know, ain't no, curmudgeon. So let's put legality and all of those things in their proper confines. The next killer would be prescription drugs. They're also legal. So 1, 2, and 3, lethal drugs.
Yeah.
Okay. Are also the biggest killers and have been the biggest killers since almost the creation, you know what I'm saying, of the United States. So if one has a problem with alcohol, you probably don't need to go to any other drug. If you have a problem with heroin, you probably don't want to drop heroin and start drinking. If you have a problem with cocaine, see, you don't want to start that hamster wheel. Because I know of several people in the rooms, and let's be honest too, in modern times, it is most people have multiple addictions. The alcoholic is like me. I'm an alcoholic and crack user. Once I drink the alcohol, all bets is off, man. I'll do almost anything. You know, so legal and not legal. It's those of us who have a problem are gonna have a problem, and legality means nothing. You know, because we don't look at it like that anyway. You're not growing your own. Oh, it's natural. You ain't growing your own weed. You buying it from somebody. You know, you're getting it from a dispensary.
Right.
So it ain't like, oh no, man, no, bro, you ain't growing your own weed. You know, so you dependent on another third party, or you know, whatever the case might be. So that's just where I believe in total abstinence. If you have a problem with drugs and alcohol, okay, then I would suggest that your lifestyle might be one with the absence of both drugs and alcohol. That's all.
And you would consider alcohol a drug?
Oh, no doubt about it. Yeah, now you're playing games then.
Okay. And you mentioned that the weed is natural. It's natural.
Yeah, well, one could say wine and beer is natural.
Uh-huh.
One could say morphine is natural.
Yeah.
I mean, heroin, you know, okay. But it's consequences on your life and on your behavior and on your family and on your value system. And what does it do to you where you might need to stop that?
Mm-hmm. But
Yeah.
Charles, you want to respond?
Yeah, people are gonna tell us whatever they can to get the money out of our pockets. You know, our government, to say it like it is, they've seen the tax benefit in making marijuana legal. The few states that jumped off, a lot of revenue, so it goes in. Is money the root of all evil? I don't think so, but it doesn't, slow things down. And on the alcohol part, we'll go all the way back. Let's do this. Turning 21, what do we kind of look forward to doing when we turn 21? What do you look forward to doing when you turn 21?
Go have a drink.
Yeah, go get that legal drink. So really want to roll it back almost in like junior high. We had this little dances we went to. Somebody maybe brought a bottle or something in, we were dancing, feeling good and all this. But our societies got us all wrapped up. 21, our rite of passage is to go and become a part of the $1 trillion liquor industry. So that's gonna be kind of hard to combat, but only like having conversations like this, can we plant that seed? No, we don't have to do that. They're gonna make weed legal. It's illegal in a few states right now for the recreational part of it all. Further again, too, these things are set out to take money from your pockets. You can buy less tennis shoes, less clothes, less gas, less food, whatever, and you look at it like that. And there again, too, we go to that social element. Society, nobody wants to be the square, the L7. We want to be hip, cool, and slick. Therefore, we're going to do things we normally wouldn't do, so we won't be put to a side by everybody else. But it comes a point as individuals, we got to find our own lane and be willing to stay in
There
it
you go.
and keep other people out, because all this has this down part. I'll be honest about this. I used to love me some good weed. I was a pothead I loved it. And when I was in New York, what they had in that pipe, it wasn't weed. And it took me straight out. So if I hadn't been a pothead and liking smoking weed out of a pipe, I never would have got with the other stuff. It just wouldn't have happened. And I'd be honest with myself, they say it's a gateway. Life is a gateway, but what avenue we going to get in along those gateways? So true enough, it's going to be to each individual. Do we want to be true to ourselves, or do we want to be true to other people? Do we want to be led by other people, or do we want to be sustainable within ourselves? No. And young people say, words is come from the earth. Yeah, right. Bananas come from the earth too. And instead of eat bananas all day.
Right.
So it's going to be a test, but there again, too, being open and honest, being willing to talk about it and not glorify. Remember when we was growing up, you see all these posters for cigarettes where they learned enough people died from them, so they took them down. You don't see as many alcohol commercials now as we once did, but in every movie, somebody had a cigarette and they had it in a hand. So we were this is what we do.
Subliminal.
We're going to smoke, and we're going to drink. But someone's designed this to get the monies out of our pocket to become a part of something that we could just as well do without. So having more open discussions about these things and seeing that, nobody wants to be pimped. And the alcohol, the liquor industries, and we're just but we were getting pimped. We're getting our money taken. We're doing the work, and someone else was getting the money.
Yeah, I know in my many years in law enforcement, I went to some trainings, a lot of trainings, and one specific one I remember was about marijuana coming to Kentucky, and they talked about how people talk about, oh, it's natural, it's from the earth. They said, well, it may have been back then,
Mm-hmm.
but today it is a scientist that is making this.
Mm-hmm.
And the THC level is jacked up 40%,
Mm-hmm.
guaranteeing someone is going to be addicted to it.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not the same. It's scientifically created by a scientist,
Mm-hmm.
and they're jacking up the addiction levels in the substance to guarantee that you're going to be addicted.
Right. Yeah.
Before we end, I'll just let both of you just respond to anything. Just if you think there's something people need to know, something we didn't really talk about that people might be curious about, or people have asked you about, go ahead and we'll share that, and then we'll close it out after.
Okay. I just want to explain how, at least how I understand the AA, Alcoholics Anonymous, to be. We're not prohibitionists. Okay, so we don't believe. So if you have a family member and you're a drinker who can drink, and you don't have the problems he do, we're not ones that, oh no, nobody should be drinking. I just can't drink. I probably can drink because I'm a pretty accomplished drinker. So I don't have a drinking problem. I have a stopping problem. Once I start, I can't stop. So I don't want you to think that to help a family member means that you could never drink around them again, because it tells us that after a while, we can go anywhere other human beings can be, because God has relieved us of the need or the want to want to get drunk. And the only thing we have to do is make sure that our spiritual fitness is maintained on a daily basis. So I don't want family members thinking, I remember when I first got sober and I'd go over to my friend's house, for a barbecue, and they're like, what are they doing in the garage? And everybody was out there having a drink. I said, oh no, man, now y'all making me not want to be around y'all. Come on in here, drink your thing. It does not bother me. So a lot of times people have that conception. If I have a family member, it means, oh man, the Brother T's coming over, take all the beer and the wine off the shelves, close the bar up, wrap it up. No, God got us. As long as we got God, God got us. So I just wanted to dispel that myth.
Okay, Brother Charles.
Okay. Bouncing off that a little bit, there comes a short period of time we've got to remove ourselves from the elements. They say we got to change people, places, and things. And we do that for a period of time to identify ourselves and be honest with ourselves about the problems we have.
Mm-hmm.
Like somebody else can drink and be civilized, where he's drinking scotch, I want to fight. So,
Right.
so I couldn't do that. So I stopped with alcohol early on, but still, right now, it's important that a person realizes detoxism, very, very important. People, places, and things, we've got to remove ourselves from situations to identify and get around people like people with the same issues. Not going to be judged, not going to be looked down on, going to be listened to and understood, and someone's going to have the courage or the obligation to speak up and say, not like that. So anybody wanting to get started, say the meetings we've heard, on Tuesdays, on Thursdays, 12 o'clock,
Yeah, 12 noon.
need to come on through. And then I would even stress as far as to say, the ministry here, from the spiritual standpoint, is warm, it's welcoming, and it's a start. No one's going to put your feet to the fire No one's gonna beat you over the head. No one's gonna have you stand up and point fingers at you and make you feel any bad about it. But we all have that point or that starting point to where to thou own self be true, so you can be true to others. But it starts with self.
Got it. Well, look, I thank both of you brothers for coming in and sharing your life, your process, what worked for you in order to help others. Thank you for sitting down and having this conversation. We're gonna have to next time we do this. We're gonna have to have some theme music
All
when we
right.
start closing it out. This is some good. This is a good show. It's a good situation here. So we're gonna have to get it up to the next level. Get that theme music to come in when we're closing out and all
All
that
right.
stuff. So we're gonna work on that. But
But
thank you. Hey, again, this is Christ Church for Our Community, empowering victims of addiction ministry. I'm Brother Minister T. Watkins, one of the associate ministers here. Dr. Frank M. Smith Jr. is the pastor, senior pastor here. And we just thank you for watching. If you have questions, you can comment. We're at 1226 Krupp Park Drive, KRUPP, Louisville, Kentucky, 40213. We meet every Sunday, 10:15 a.m. And on Thursdays, empowering victims of addiction, every Thursday, 12 noon. Come out, be with us. Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you.